I think the biggest thing is the breadth of the portfolio that we now offer. Where it's still the core capabilities for collaboration with Teams and SharePoint, but in the last couple of years, we've expanded with big new families of solutions, including Viva for employee engagement and Syntex for content AI. And so the number of things we're doing has grown, but it's still the same basic values of can we give people the best tools we can for them to collaborate and build business processes on. The portfolio of solutions that Microsoft has grown, how we've evolved the underlying platform of SharePoint for those. Some good examples we discussed in our keynote here at ESPC is Microsoft Lists was always part of SharePoint, but we gave it a brand new user experience, sort of hyper fast and scalability with this underlying Nucleus engine, and made it even simpler. Of course you can get it in a SharePoint site, but it's now just simple, streamlined, standalone as Microsoft Lists. Similarly, Loop, the data structures that are behind this sort of hyper fast collaboration inside Outlook and Teams and more, those data structures are built in essentially the underlying SharePoint file system that we talked about a few years ago. And Stream Video, we've replatformed Stream on top of SharePoint. As part of that, we leveraged all the metadata workflow security of SharePoint, but we added new streaming media capabilities. So I think the thing that people haven't appreciated, and maybe it's just fine, is of course you can go to SharePoint sites, but there's a whole new set of experiences, Viva and Syntex as well, that are built on a lot of things that we've invested in under the covers in SharePoint in the last 5 years. Yeah, I'd be remiss to say it doesn't come up that much. But I think what's happened is people are just more comfortable that there's more tools in the toolbox. If you look back to people were using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook for communications, maybe SharePoint to publish to, and then with the cloud, the pace of innovation from not just us, but others in tech evolved a lot. And appropriately, none of these products had sort of bento box mindset in their functionality. There was not like, hey, I will never do thing X some other tool does. And so with this innovation, not just from us, but across the industry, some of these tools did overlap, and it's okay. You can manage a project in an Excel spreadsheet or in Planner or in Lists. Their soul of those products are unique and distinctive, the flexible grid in Excel, the structured project activity, tailored things in Planner and Project, or the sort of database-y sort of approach in Microsoft Lists. But I think people are more comfortable that, yeah, these tools aren't limited, and therefore they have a little bit of overlap, and we'll give them guidance about what tool to pick when. But it's less of a concern than a few years ago. Yeah, that's, in fact, I was talking to the leader for Word yesterday, and Word is so established in people's muscle memory and has design points around files and existing muscle memory and so forth. So we can move Word a little bit, but if you move the cheese of a primary application like that, you're sometimes disruptive. And so we're integrating some of the underlying Loop technologies into Word, but this new sort of clean canvas approach that we're taking with Loop lets us sort of try some new ideas that are harder to do in an established product. And so you sort of have, as a big technology company like us, this trade-off between, hey, are you constrained by people's usage patterns and don't innovate? And that, ultimately in the long run doesn't serve our users or our company well. Or do you come up with some new things and innovate with them and as people get used to them, bring them to other canvases. And so that's what we're doing with Loop. And I think the early feedback on it has been really, really good. I'd rather we innovate and people ask us, how does X relate to Y, than us not to innovate. You know, that's sort of, you have to do that in our industry. We do have a clear set of priorities. I write them, I publish them in SharePoint, we record them in Stream, we communicate them out to people in Teams and Yammer, and we track them in Viva Goals. So we eat our own dog food, as we say. And so I do know our priorities pretty clearly. The first is end user delight, making all the things we do, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, more simpler, faster, more intuitive. End user delight first and foremost. Second is we want to innovate. So bringing in new AI capabilities to transform our experiences, continue to revamp the user experience of some of these applications. Third is we want to deliver new value to customers, and you see that with Viva and Syntax. Fourth, we want to support our developer ecosystem, building solutions, integrating applications on Teams and SharePoint and more. And fifth is we want to lay a great architectural and engineering culture for the future, so that, you know, we talked about this in the keynotes, in the Future of SharePoint event in 2016. SharePoint usage has grown 15x and storage has grown 40x. So the architectural investments you need to make to scale to that, and so we're, you know, now multiple exabytes of data in SharePoint as a storage system, you know, billions of minutes a day in Teams, and so we've got to make continued architectural and engineering investments. So those are our 5 core product priorities. In addition, we want to build the best team in tech with a great focus on customers and collaboration. We have a small team working on SharePoint on-prem. We have a subscription offering so people can get updates. Our main focus is continued focus on security and supportability. We forked SharePoint on-prem a few years ago, and any new capabilities realistically are going into the cloud offering. And so we know SharePoint on-prem is still critical to a set of customers and we're investing in it, but to set really clear expectations, all the new value is going into the cloud. Yeah, you'll continue to see more for that. I think we want to make sure to do and project and planner continue to work better and better together without sort of compromising the focus. You know, I used to do regularly, I have 2 lists in to do, one for my personal life, one for my work life, and I've completed over 1,000 tasks in each of those in to do. It's actually a little bit of a drag race in my work-life balance to see how many things I've done in each. And planner and project, you know, continuing to work together. So one of the things we're trying to do, you know, as an example, is make sure when these things come together in teams, the experience is really simple. So you see us with approvals in Teams that we showed a little bit of in the keynote this morning. So there's going to be more we can do to bridge these systems, and that'll be a big focus. And I hope we have a session here at ESPC on all that. No, absolutely none whatsoever. We're on a mission to frustrate everybody and correct their spelling. And you know, every now and then somebody in the community catches in Microsoft documentation a lowercase p and tweets me, and yeah, I'm so appreciative. You know, you would think that everybody would spell check at this point, but every now and then one lowercase p slips through the cracks. So thank you to everybody for making sure it's SharePoint. Yeah, I think, yeah, we were talking about this the other day. I think we've laid a good framework for the next 3 to 5 years. That's not to say we won't introduce new things, but I think, you know, the way we talked about it in the keynote today is they're the base experiences, Teams and SharePoint. we're continuing to invest more than ever in those, both as user experience shells, if you will, as well as platforms. So those will continue to evolve. And I think, will people interact with files a little more in the OneDrive app than going to a SharePoint site? There'll be a little bit of a shift like that, just because OneDrive is a little more streamlined for accessing the files. But SharePoint sites are here to stay, and in fact, boy, we shared a little bit in the keynote, but the next 12 to 18 months on SharePoint UX is going to be, I think, my favorite time yet, and so I don't want to leak anything. So both user experience and platform for the base things. We'll do some new things like we've done with lists and loop, and then we've got these big new families with Viva and Syntax on top of Teams, SharePoint, and much more. And so, if I think we'll add extensions to each of those families. So in Teams, for example, we have Teams Phone, Teams Room, now Teams Premium, and Mesh for Teams. But I don't think there'll be some groundbreaking reframing of things. I think the one main thing we did that people should know about is the web-based start experience for Office. We renamed that Microsoft 365. As the suite moved from Office 365, we thought it was appropriate to rename the app, both on web and desktop and mobile, the Microsoft 365 app. And that's probably the biggest reframing we did, but you'll see, if there's one thread through everything, I would say in the next 5 years, where people will be surprised 5 years from now versus today, is the impact of AI. I mean, we're really rethinking all the user experience paradigms of all our tools. Where can AI know what I want to do, or I can have a conversation with our system, as opposed to understanding all the menus and navigation options. That model, I think, will evolve because of AI. That's probably the biggest thing for people to watch out for, is that AI transformation. Yeah, this is such a great area for us, because at one level, what we're trying to do is be out of box as possible. And then for a number of our partners, when we accelerated to shift to the cloud, a number of partners saw that as taking away business, because they had made their money on deployment and upgrade. But the reality is, it was dramatically more efficient for us to upgrade millions of servers, as opposed to customers to pay for that every 3 years. And now the partner opportunities are getting the value out of the technology they bought. How can I collaborate better? How can I engage my employees better? How can I transform my business processes? Security and compliance. What are the new risks that are out there, and how do the Microsoft tools help me mitigate those? What are the transformative business applications I could build on the Power Platform and integrate with, say, Viva connections to make them available to our employees? One thing in particular I'm really excited about is, there's a set of, the venture capital market funded a set of vertically siloed solutions where, that stack of, storage and logic and user experience was all completely independent. And we are now starting to see partners building their applications on top of Teams and on top of the Microsoft Graph. So it gets all the, that system, that business system, natively starts with the security, compliance, and collaboration and AI capabilities in Microsoft 365. So there's just a ton of partner opportunities, whether you're an ISV building sort of a next generation application built on Microsoft 365 from the get-go, not just integrating with it, but built on it, to people transforming bespoke business processes unique to a company, to thinking through change management, but in a modern way. It's not sort of 2000 where you would send your team to a week-long training class to learn Excel. That's not how people learn anymore. And so I talk to so many customers who are thrilled with all the tools they have in Microsoft 365, but they want to know, how do I get started? How do I have the maximal impact on our business? And so I think partners play a great role in that. We see a vibrant partner ecosystem here at ESPC, and I'd love to hear from our partners what they would like to see, what they see as the biggest opportunities and what they would like to see from Microsoft to help them go after it. So it's a great question. It's funny, when we had a lot fewer products and it was mainly on-prem, so that meant it shipped every 3 years. Somehow the community rallied around, the events like this and the local SharePoint Saturdays. And now that, the product portfolio, both the products have gotten bigger and the number of products has grown, and they're shipping every day, the need to understand the pipeline of technology, what's possible with it, how to best use it, to network and meet other people and learn from them is even much, let's say we have 5 times as many capabilities and they're shipping, 5 times as often. I'm not sure that's very precise, but it does feel that way. And therefore the community to come together to talk about the challenges they have in their business, how the technologies can address them, what are the best practices. And also, as you know, like we all have stuff to do at work, but why not have a good time? Part of the best part of my job, the thing I look back on my career and most grateful for, is there are so many amazing people that you get to meet and get to know about personally. And so this community is where people have built lifelong friendships, even independent of like, how do I transform content business processes? So I think we all saw in the pandemic that not only are the technologies and the communities behind them more needed than ever to address your business challenges, we need them as human beings more than ever. So I'm so thrilled to be here with over 1,800 people at ESPC. And we just announced our communitydays.org site, where people can create and promote and find their local events in their cities. And please, mention me on Twitter, or direct DM me, or LinkedIn, however you want to reach me. And unless it's some crazy week, I'm always glad to promote the community events that people have, because I think they're indispensable and a key part of how we all work together. It is wonderful. The ESPC team does an amazing event, hosting it with 130 plus sessions, getting a diverse set of speakers, making it a fun, engaging way for the community to connect, and just being back for the first time in 3 years and feeling the energy in the room and seeing so many smiling faces. It's really one of my favorite events, and the ESPC team does such a wonderful job. And so it's really, I know people are trying to figure out, can they make the time or justify the cost? But it is one of the most efficient ways I can think of to get up to speed with the ever-changing technologies from Microsoft and get to know a set of people who will be a chance to learn from not just that week, but for the rest of your life. So ESPC, I couldn't recommend it more strongly.